Hey guys, welcome to stately Vaughan Manor. You know, when I did my bookshelf tour, I forgot about all this stuff up at top of my bookcase. So here we go for a surprise bookcase tour number 5. So yeah, it's a little dangerous up here, but don't worry, Danger is my middle name. Well, actually, my middle name starts with a K. Danger is my middle name. And so I'm going to risk my life up here to show my tippy-top books to you. So I'm going to get rid of my Rhino Guardian. Sit you down here, Rhino. And let's get started looking at all the weird stuff that's up here at the top of the bookcase. And hopefully I will not fall and have great bodily injury in the meantime. So okay, now this first one up here in the corner is really appropriate for an adventurous time like this. This is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World. This one, I'm not sure how old this particular edition is, but just taking a look at it, it looks like the 1930s to me. I could be wrong though. So I'm just going to set you aside over there. And right here, we just got, what is this? This is a modern library coverless edition of Joseph Conrad's Nostromo, which one of these days I'll talk to you guys about. But not today, because we've got another really cool book to talk about. This is a rendezvous in Avroigne. Avroigne? I have no idea how to pronounce this word. Here, you guys, you tell me how to pronounce that. This is a book by Clark Ashton Smith. This is published by Arkham House. This is not a first edition. They changed it for this edition, which I think is probably the second. I have no idea. But it's a really cool book by Clark Ashton Smith, published by Arkham House. It has a ton of really cool stories in here. Clark Ashton Smith was awesome. He was one of the big 3 in Weird Tales, along with Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft. You should check out my videos on those guys. They're incredible. Yeah, so this guy's pretty cool. Put you up there for right now. Hopefully all of this stuff won't fall over while I'm doing this. Okay, next we have a really cool book here. This is Guy Endores, The Werewolf of Paris. Now this is a really cool book. Yeah, it was written in the 1930s. They made a movie sort of based on it. Curse of the Werewolf, which was made by Hammer Films, I think in the 60s, or might have been 70s. But yeah, it's a cool novel. And someday I'll talk about The Werewolf of Paris as well, because it's probably the closest thing we have to a classic novel about an actual werewolf. Okay, put you right there. Next, we have this great one. This is Area X by Jeff Vandermeer. This is the Southern Reach trilogy. Cool cover to this one. This has Annihilation, Authority, and Acceptance, which is the entire Southern Reach trilogy, which is a cool, really strange, weird old trilogy. Yeah, I'll talk about this one day too. I'll talk about all this stuff one day when I'm not in danger of my life. So, put you right there. Don't fall over, books. And this is just 3 great novels by Stevenson. Yeah, don't know how old this one is. Does it say? Deluxe Editions Club. Doesn't say. 3 novels by Stevenson, which of course is Treasure Island, Kidnapped, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because it has to be those 3. But this one here is a cool old book. I'll hold these up so they don't fall. This is a volume of Kipling, a selection of his stories and poems. This is only the first volume, I think. I don't have the other volumes. Yeah, but look at that. This is really cool. Not a heck of a lot of people read Kipling anymore. Not sure why. He was a pretty darn good writer. What does he have in here in this particular volume? There's Kim. There's the Jungle Book. Just So Stories, and Puck of Pool Hall. Pools Hall. Puck of Pooks Hall. Puck of Pooks Hall. You can tell that I haven't read this all the way through yet. But yeah, so this is just a cool old volume of Kipling. And it's just hanging out here on top of everything else. Okay, all this stuff back. All right, guys, put you back on top. Lost World. Now, I've already showed you guys the annotated American Gods, which I got the other day in my spellbinding unboxing video, which, of course, you have to run and see because it's fantastic, like all of my videos. But yeah, I gave you a look at this the other day, and I stuffed it up here right next to the annotated Poe. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of look at this because this one's really cool. The annotated Poe has, you know, all of his major stories in it, all his major short stories. Yeah, but it has some of the cool illustrations in it. Yeah, lots of annotations there on the side. Excuse the shadows. I have a window open. Yeah, this is a really cool one. And this is the annotated Poe. Who annotated this? This was edited by Kevin J. Hayes. There we go. So this is a pretty cool one right there. Now, I talked about this too in my Ray Bradbury video. This is his, the stories of Ray Bradbury. A ton of great Ray Bradbury stories. Hey, for some reason, my Ray Bradbury video is my least watched video, I think. And that's not right, because this guy's fantastic. I might be an idiot, but this guy's great. Ray Bradbury, read this guy. Okay. Now, at the very tippy top here, I have another edition of Crime and Punishment. This edition of Crime and Punishment was translated by Richard Pavir and Larissa Volonsky. Yeah, this is a good one. So this is my other edition of Crime and Punishment, one of my very, very favorite books by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Fantastic book here. And of course, who else would be up next to Dostoevsky except Adam Caesar and his Video Night? Of course, those two books go together. So yeah, this is a pretty good one here. Adam Caesar, he writes fun stuff, and this is a pretty darn fun book. So yeah, if you want to read any Adam Caesar, and you know, who wouldn't, this is a one to read. Okay, so then we have a bunch of cool stuff right here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about them because one of these days I'm going to do a video on both these guys. The first is the great Karl Edward Wagner. These two books were published in the early it was the early 2000s. I think it was probably 2002. This is his Cain novels, and then I have his Cain short stories right here. So Gods in Darkness, the novels of Cain, which is Karl Edward Wagner's great fantasy character. And this has 3 novels in it: Bloodstone, Dark Crusade, and Darkness Weaves. Classic fantasy novels. If you want to know where grimdark really started, it started with this guy. This is good stuff. Karl Edward Wagner, unfortunately, passed away in 1994. He was a great editor and a fantastic writer. And I'll talk all about these Cain style stories and novels one of these days. But I want to read this again first because I haven't read these novels and stories for years and years, decades, I think, which is a shame. You know, I've got to get back to these guys and read them all again because they're fantastic. And I will do that before I make my video on Karl Edward Wagner's Cain. Fantastic character, just brilliant. Now this set I'm particularly happy with, which is one of the reasons it's way up here, elevated into the sky. This is the Nightshade books, more books by Nightshade Books. This is their 5-volume complete set of the adventures of Jules the Grandin. Jules de Grandin. I just have to pronounce it like he was Pepe Le Pew, because that's how he sounds in my head when I read these stories. Jules the Grandin. Yeah, this is good stuff. I'm qualifying good as entertaining. This is by Seabury Quinn. Now, whenever you read anything about the old Weird Tales, they will point out that Seabury Quinn was the best-selling writer in Weird Tales, along with Robert E. Howard and H.P. Lovecraft. And they'll always go on about how, yeah, Lovecraft was great, but that Seabury Quinn guy, he was terrible. He wrote awful stories, and those Jules de Grandin stories were junk. Often, I hear a phone. Don't worry, I'm not going to answer it. You guys are more important. So anyway, Jules de Grandin was a supernatural investigator. And so every issue, pretty much, of Weird Tales had some adventure of Jules de Grandin running around, fighting ghosts and werewolves and vampires and ghost snakes and just big gorilla people. I mean, just you name it. Jules de Grandin has fought it. And so he was just a great pulp character, really entertaining. So not, when I say great, it was fun. These stories, no matter how bad you might hear people talk about Seabury Quinn, his stories were a lot of fun. And I don't think he was ever trying to be anything else other than just fun with these stories. And so I have all 5 volumes of the complete Jules de Grandin, and they all have just fantastic covers. Just look at that. There's old Jules de Grandin there reading some forbidden text, so he could fight whatever critters are down there. And yeah, all these Nightshade books volumes have great covers. Just a fantastic collection. I never thought I would have a full collection of Jules de Grandin stories. I never thought I wanted them, but then I got them and I realized, yes, I did want these. These are pretty darn cool. So, one of these days, I'll do a video and talk about them because they're so cool and fun. So, I'm going to leave Adam Cesar on top of Fyodor Dostoevsky for a while. Yeah, that'll be cool. And over here, we've got another Arkham House edition. This is Alone with the Horrors by Ramsey Campbell. This is a first edition. He came out with a second edition, which was a little different. I'm not exactly sure what was changed, but this is the first edition, and it's pretty cool. Now, Ramsey Campbell is not everybody's cup of tea. Some people find him kind of boring. I admit, sometimes even I find him kind of boring, but his short stories are pretty darn good. And this has a lot of really interesting stories in this volume. So I'm going to set you right up there because we're going to talk about Weird Tales by Marvin Kaye. This is just an old book club edition without its cover. I probably got it. Yeah, I got it for $2.50. But there are a lot of cool old Weird Tale stories in here. The House of Ecstasy. Yeah, so just a bunch of cool old pulp stories in here. Yeah, it's worth a read if you ever find some cheapo copy of it. And the rest of the stuff is going to be quite random because I just kind of stuffed it up here for space. This is an old Quo Vadis by Henry Sienkiewicz. But it's nice. It's a nice old volume. It probably should actually be down there someplace, but I guess I just didn't have the room, or, you know, it got shoved up here when I put something else down here. There it is by Jeremiah. Yeah, translated from the Polish by Jeremiah Curtin. Yeah, so there you go. And again, another book that I should read as a grown-up person. I think I was like probably 19 when I read this, and I really don't remember that much about it. I remember the basics, but not much. Here's an old Everyman's Library copy of the Aeneid by Virgil. This is pretty cool. Always worth taking a look at this. Yeah, and I will probably do a whole video on this one of these days, probably as a Sunday Penguin, something like that. Then I've got just some really dusty, cheapo edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray. I have a really nice edition of this from Penguin, one of those Penguin hardcovers. But for some reason, I held on to this cheapo Barnes & Noble edition, which I picked up somewhere at some time. I couldn't tell you when or where. Then we got Robert Louis Stevenson's The Master of Ballantrae. This is an Everyman's Library edition. I have it in an omnibus volume down below there, which I showed you guys probably in the 4th bookshelf tour. But, you know, Everyman's Library is great. So, of course, I held on to this book. I just put it up here on top of everything else. Okay, and this one is actually pretty cool. I like this edition of Main Street by Sinclair Lewis. Yeah, this is, who does this one? Harcourt, Brace, and Company. Yeah, so this one's pretty cool. Look at that really cool cover. I like it. I don't know how old this one is. Let's see if it even says. A lot of times they don't. Do you even say? No, of course you don't. No idea. But it's a pretty good edition of Main Street. I'll tell you that. You're not going to fall over, are you, Siri Quinn? So stay there. Because I got one more book. Another dusty old Everyman's Library edition of Rob Roy. There we go. And, God, yeah, this one's really dusty. Man, it's kind of dusty up here at the top. Somebody ought to clean this place. I gotta call in Wilkins, my butler, and have him take care of this place. So anyway, Sir Walter Scott, Rob Roy, really, really entertaining novel. And I'm going to be talking about Sir Walter Scott within probably the next couple weeks or so. We'll see. So anyway, I'll put all this stuff back so nothing falls over. Totally different than how I found this stuff. Here we go. Good enough. Now I hope you enjoyed this addendum to my bookshelf tour. I'm glad I finally got out of the way and that I did not kill myself while doing it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. Now come on back next time for another exciting adventure here at stately Vaughan Manor. Bye guys.